Hello, how are you doing? Good to see you. Today I am speaking about being an ENFJ in the Myers-Briggs. And just my personal experience with that, I would like to put in the caveat that I have not been formally tested for being an ENFJ. However, I have been studying this since I was like 12, and I've thought I was an introvert, but within the last 2 years I realized I am not, and I'm gonna kind of go into that in the video. All right, so I'm going to make more nerdy videos in the future about Myers-Briggs, but I thought that maybe I would start out kind of like with a more fun video to explain Myers-Briggs, because it can be a lot. So what does it mean to be an ENFJ? So in the Myers-Briggs, there is 8 different cognitive functions. However, there's really 4, because each of the 4 has an introverted and an extroverted version. Okay, and these 4 functions, they're feeling, thinking, sensing, and intuiting. And essentially, we have all 8 cognitive functions. They're just in different orders, and that combines to create the 16 MBTI types. Now, what's interesting when you really start digging into it is that Myers-Briggs obviously will create behavior in you, but the behavior is not guaranteed. So, why that is so important is ENFJs lead with a feeling function. Because, okay, let me just cut this in real quick. That your top 4 cognitive functions are what you look at when you're trying to decide what type you are. And shadow functions, it's a whole nother fun theory you can explore. But I, as an ENFJ, I lead with a feeling function, and it's extroverted feeling. And like I was saying, feeling also has another side, introverted feeling, but ENFJs lead with extroverted feeling. What the heck is feeling? I mean, don't we already know what it is? Is it emotions? No. Feeling is a way that us humans, like it's a template we use to make decisions. Now, if you have introverted feeling, you actually have a very natural sense of what is in alignment with yourself, like your own personal morals, and just like you have this feeling of like what's right for you, what's not right for you. And it definitely involves empathy, but how I've heard it said for introverted feelers is they actually do this thing called mirroring, where they see how someone feels and they think about a time they felt that way. And so it's like they're kind of using their own experience to create that emotion. Of course, it doesn't have to be consciously. I think it often happens very unconsciously. But, okay, so introverted, right? That's like the self. So introverted feeling. Now extroverted feeling, which is what ENFJs have. Extroverted feeling kind of does the opposite, right? It is using values and emotions to make decisions, but it's a lot less attuned to its own emotions, its own like integrity, and it kind of looks outward. So classic extroverted feelers, like we sort of take on the emotions of those around us, and totally anyone can do this, and totally an introverted feeler can do this, but an extroverted feeler, it's very real time. And that's the thing with extroverted functions versus introverted functions. introverted functions, they are more protected from the environment. They're more like trying to be pure in a sense. If that confuses you, I'm sorry. If it works for you though, stick with it. But they're just more like contained, right? Protected, less influenced. They're more stubborn. Extroverted like functions, they're a lot more like, oh, like I'm gonna change, like I'm gonna adapt. I'm like more in the moment, whatever works in the moment. They're also like less protected, and they're also less deep, technically speaking. But deep just kind of means like there's less of a deep hold the psyche has on it. It's more likely to like give up things, and like the introverted functions are more like, nope, this is how I am. Introverts are not like stubborn. That's not at all what I mean. Extroverts can be real stubborn too. But just I hope you know what I mean. I'm new at this. I'm sorry. So extroverted feeling, and introverted feeling. So the second function an ENFJ has is introverted intuition. Now, introverted intuition, right? That's not an extroverted function. That's an introverted function. I thought I was an extrovert. The cool thing about Myers-Briggs is that we, like I said, we all have introverted functions and extroverted functions. The thing is that they're in different places, right? And so if you are leading with an extroverted function, you are classified as an extrovert. And so ENFJs lead with extroverted feeling, they are extroverts. But their second thing, their second way of being that they're really comfortable with is introverted intuition. And intuition, it's actually an observation mode. It's not decision making like feeling is, but it's more like what you tend to see, what you tend to notice. And intuition, it's like abstract information, like intangible stuff, patterns. I know I said that funny. Patterns, and trends, and intuition often involves like gut instincts, and it's kind of like know stuff without knowing it. And when you get introverted intuition, it is a lot, very much so, about like core meaning, like the unifying theme, the one thing everything can be boiled down to. Extroverted feeling, which is not what ENFJs have. Extroverted intuition. Extroverted intuition. That's what I'm talking about. It's not what ENFJs have. That is a lot more expansive. So they are less likely to want to boil different ideas down into one idea. They're actually likely to want to start with an idea and like go all sorts of different places with it. So they're less content with like spending their whole life studying one thing, And so I think this channel is a good example of my introverted intuition. I have been consistently obsessed with this kind of stuff like since I was 12. And that's about the time when I really started getting more comfortable with my intuition. And so there's no going back. My intuition will not cease. And so it's just fun to see that take place in your life, your functions. Thirdly, we have extroverted sensing for the ENFJ. And of course, this is in juxtaposition with introverted sensing. So sensing is once again an observing function. And so what sensing looks at, it's actually the real concrete data. It looks at, what's very tangibly observable. None of this abstract crap, with the intuition. And sensing is misunderstood. There's a lot of weird bigotry happening in the Myers-Briggs community against sensors, and I see a lot of that being cleared up, which I'm so happy about. But a lot of it is because a lot of intuitives are interested in Myers-Briggs, and intuitives have actually been very misunderstood because our society is built on sensing ideas, basically. But sensors, I'm married to a sensor. Sensors are really stinking cool because they don't just go around and sense things like they're a robot. They make really cool observations I'm not making because I'm really in my head and really in my ideas. And so they see a lot of things and they notice a lot of things. And the reason I'm really highlighting that is because an introverted sensor, they notice little details in their present moment, but they're actually comparing it to details they've seen in the past, which is interesting because they're presently observing, but they're using the past as a standard of how the present should be. When they're saying like should, they kind of like, they've built this criteria for themselves basically through their past experience. And the extroverted sensing doesn't do that. Like it's all in the moment. And it's like, it likes flashy things, it likes pretty things. It's got an energy to it. Introverted sensing is a bit calmer, more stabilizing. Introverted sensing, it's all about like homeostasis. And extroverted sensing, it's actually about kind of like shaking things up a little bit and messing around in the external world. And extroverted sensing, right, for an ENFJ comes third, which is fascinating, I think, because you have the feeling, which is like kind of out there, like trying to, you know, make people feel good, trying to like create some vibe. And then you have the intuition, you know, that's given this like philosophy slash poetic slash monk-like vibe. Then you have the extroverted sensing. And because it's third, right, it's not as developed as the other two, but it's still very much there. And if an ENFJ really wants to, they can be really like spontaneous. I think that we can really struggle with the same old, you know. I know that a lot of ENFJs are actually really interested in the mind-body connection because you have like the intuition, the mind, then you have the SE, extroverted sensing, the body, and it's just bridging those gaps. So I have to work to get myself there sometimes, but I love running. It's like very intense. It's like an adrenaline rush. And I love exercise in general, but the exercise I'm most likely to do is the really intense stuff. And again, like I'm always exercising, but when I'm like, yeah, like I wanna feel exerted, I know that's like my extroverted sensing coming out. And I'm also very aware of what other people look like. And when I say that, I mean like there's a lot of extroverted feeling in that, but I'm really attuned to like what other people are wearing, like what looks good, what doesn't look good. And because of my extrovert feeling, I'm less likely to care as much about that stuff, but I still care about the impression my physical appearance is giving to other people. And I struggle if I know that it's making someone uncomfortable, like if my hair is messy or something, or I'm giving somebody a bad experience basically with my physical self, if that makes sense. Okay, and last but not least, it's the thinking. Okay, so ENFJs have introverted thinking last. Okay, and thinking is, you guessed it, a decision-making function. Just like feeling, thinking is another way that we come to conclusions. And thinking is basically the opposite of feeling. Feeling is all about making decisions that, you know, are in conjunction with your values, and making decisions in conjunction with like humans, you know. And then you have thinking, which is all about the logic, like cut the crap, cut the emotions, none of that. That ruins the hardcore logic. And again, you guessed it, you're a good student. It has two types, extroverted thinking and introverted thinking. Now, extroverted thinking, it's all about what makes sense in the real world, and it's all about efficiency. And so extroverted thinkers are really good at building systems, but if the system doesn't work, they're really good at trashing it and starting over. And they're always like wanting just to create a better process that they can start and leave. They want systems to do the work for them. They're probably going and creating more systems while that one's working anyway. But like I said, it's all about efficiency. It's actually pretty genius. And I will explain why I think that. Because introverted thinking, right? The other type of thinking, that's the last function of an ENFJ. And that's the one I have, of course. And introverted thinking, I love introverted thinking. I think it's so interesting. And I wish I was a dominant introverted thinker, because there's something so intensely satisfying about thinking this way. But you know that you don't actually lead with it when you can't separate people from logic. So introverted thinking, it's all about maintaining 100% perfectly consistent, perfectly harmonious logic. And I like to think of it as like algebra, okay? I'm sorry if you hate algebra. I had a love-hate relationship with it. But you are constantly trying to keep, what's the word for it? You're trying to keep everything balanced, right, on both sides. Like, you're trying to get each side to equal what the other side is. And you're constantly moving stuff around. And the moment you make a mistake, you have to start over. And that is introverted thinking, my friends. If there is one thing that contradicts itself, that don't stay with us. We do not approve. And the cool thing about introverted thinking is that it can make you so obsessive about information that you understand it inside and out. This is why I think extroverted thinking is cool, though, because introverted thinking, it can be slow, because it doesn't care if it's efficient. It cares if it's accurate, if it's right. And yes, and so that is me. And my manager can attest to that. I'm slow, but I'm working on it. But yeah, so that's kind of a decent explanation of the 4 cognitive functions an ENFJ has in their function stack. Again, I could go on and on. There will be more videos. Oh my word. There's so much to talk about, but again, there's even more to talk about, because just personality psychology doesn't matter. There's wellness and fitness and all this stuff. But I hope this was an interesting musing, and I appreciate you listening so much. Let me know if there's anything specific you want to hear about. DM me. I'm super new to this, but like I said in my intro, I've been around YouTube a lot. I know there's lots of different things people do. Like live streams are cool, like all this different stuff. So obviously, sky's the limit. And I'm just happy, honestly, to talk to a camera, but I hope you're there too. Okay, bye guys.